What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Shy Boys Podcast. I'm here. I'm Bobby. I'm here to give y'all a quick update on what was just reported by Daniel Greenberg. What's being reported by Daniel Greenberg is that the Chicago Bulls are fielding offers for star Zach Lavine. And I'm gonna start off by saying y'all already know how I felt about it. Y'all know how I felt about it. It was something that we felt like this guy was untouchable. And that's good and all dandy, you know what I'm saying? Because we felt like if you're gonna move Zach Lavine, it's not a lot of options out there to bring about talent, to bring back talent adequate enough to go ahead and turn this thing around. And that was the initial point, you know what I'm saying? But over time of thinking and dissecting and looking at the situation, things obviously can change, you know what I'm saying? So that's something that we continue to look at. And then it has come to the point as me and was doing the free agent shopping, we started to look at, man, are the Bulls really in a tough position? The Bulls are really in a tough position. You know what I'm saying? You got all this money going out to different type of players to where you be like, man, if we move them, does the value of this player really bring back something good enough? You know, if you're looking at a DeMar DeRozan, is the value absolutely good enough? If you do move Nikola Vucevic, and honestly, the Chicago Bulls, they right and they torn between uh a tough situation right now, if we keeping it honest. You know what I mean? I believe the Chicago Bulls are in a tough situation, and it's something that we harped on during the entire last season, the year before, and both off seasons, including this one going into here, that the Chicago Bulls need to pick a direction on where they want to go. Y'all want to go ahead and build this thing out full of vets or things like that, or do you want to go ahead and start the youth movement and try to see if you can acquire some young good pieces and then build something out that will bring you and promise you longevity for years and years to move forward? Because if we're looking at some of the young teams that have done it before, who's had more success than us. You look at the Boston Celtics. You know, they knew when to get out of the Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett business and start this thing over. And they ended up with two really good stars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown by doing good drafting and then still acquiring good draft capital so they can, have a few bites at the apple. And then if you're looking at the reigning champions, the Denver Nuggets, they went ahead and did something similar too. You know what I mean? They waited, they got the draft capital, they built through the draft, they let players develop. They depended on their developmental staff, and they went with a youth movement that came out and ended up, one of your assets that you drafted came out to be a superstar in Joker. And then you got a young he didn't make an all-star team, but I believe he's an all-star caliber player in Jamal Murray. And then you build that thing around him, and now they got themselves a championship. And then if you're going back to what I just talked about with the Boston Celtics, those guys, they've been in conference finals. They made the finals. The Chicago Bulls haven't made a conference final since Derrick Rose left, and that's just the reality. Now, we can have personal feelings. You know what I'm saying? I can have personal feelings of not wanting to move Zach Lavine, going ahead and the Chicago Bulls trying to make an attempt to go ahead and find them a point guard of the future. But it's just tough right now, especially with Lonzo Ball career in jeopardy. And then you're looking at so much money that's being dished out. You got Zach Lavine on a max contract. You got DeMar DeRozan getting heavy money. Alex Caruso, Nikola Vucevic, and those guys, if we keeping it a buck, they are in the way of the young guys. You know what I mean? So I think right now, as much as I know some of us don't want to trade Zach. I know it's been a lot of you that wants to trade Zach, and I agree with it. You know what I'm saying? I see both sides of it. You can go pros and cons for both situations, and I honestly see it. And I think that the Chicago Bulls, they need to make a decision. You know what I'm saying? Because if you continuously bring in vets, you're drafting for nothing, because we have seen it time and time again that Billy Donovan is simply not playing the young players. We don't know what Dalen Terry can be. We haven't seen Marko Simonovic. We made, statements, at least on this channel, that, hey, DeMar DeRozan is in the way of Patrick Williams' growth. We seen Patrick Williams play a different brand of basketball without DeMar DeRozan and Zach Lavine in the lineup. So that's something that the Bulls front office can be looking at. And you look at young players like Kobe White. They say, hey, he took a step forward. He worked on this game. We don't know still a young guy, so he can go ahead and have some type of career mapped out with him, and he claims that he wants to be a starter. What if the Bulls feel like that's a way to move? So I understand it all, understand both sides of the spectrum, because, and then lastly, if you throw in Ayo Dosunmu, you looking at him and you saying, hey, had one good year, had one bad year. He has been working on his game, working on his handle, his dribble, trying to go ahead and create better shots for himself. So you don't know what he can pan out to be. And if we're looking at everything, you saying, hey, you want to see the Bulls compete. You want to see the Bulls contend. But the question we got to ask ourselves is, do we really want to just be a middle of the pack team, or do we want to have an opportunity to be an actual title contender? And that question, that the latter part of that statement, is a tough question that's presented right here in front of the front office, because we don't know, even if they try to attempt to go out and make moves, how difficult it will be for these guys. So we got to keep all that in mind. We got to keep it a buck when we're looking at the entire situation. I'm not mad at it. I'm just looking at everything because I want to be in the conversation of being a title contender. I don't just want to be a playoff contender. And right now, the vision is very bleak. The vision is very blurry. And I just don't know what the right thing to do. Because you can go both ways with both of these things. You can say, hey, get rid of DeMar, get rid of Zach. Get rid of DeMar, get rid of Vooch, build around Zach. Or you can say, get rid of all the old vets, get these guys out of the way of the young guys, and let these guys build this thing from the ground up, especially when we got all the hype surrounding the Chicago Bears. I know it's a different sport, and you can change things, fairly quickly in the NFL versus the NBA, but you still look at like, damn, the Chicago Bears tore it all down. They got the right people up in the right positions, and now the future is bright. I gotta keep it a buck. The future is very bleak for the Chicago Bulls right now, so I understand all the trade talks. And that's just it, man. Just a quick update for y'all. Y'all already know what to do, man. Thank y'all for tuning in for this quick update from me, Bobby, one of the hosts here at Shy Boys Podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and you already know we're going to catch y'all on the next one. Cognac. Gang.